Imagine for a second that you're holding the entire internet in your hands, only to let it all slip right through your fingers. Well, that's pretty much the story of Yahoo, a company that for millions of us basically was the digital world, only to become one of Silicon Valley's greatest, most cautionary tales. So, let's wind the clock back to the year 2000. It's the absolute peak of the dot-com frenzy. And Yahoo? Yahoo wasn't just some company, it was a total cultural phenomenon. Its stock was on a rocket ship, giving it a market value of an incredible $125 billion. For an entire generation, you didn't go on the internet, you went on Yahoo. Okay, now picture this. Just 16 years later, in 2016, the core of that very same iconic company gets sold off to the Verizon for just $4.8 billion. That's a collapse of almost 96%. Just wow. So the question that still haunts Silicon Valley to this day is, how did this happen? How on earth did a company with every single advantage you can imagine, a brand known all over the globe, fall so far and so incredibly fast? To really understand the fall, you've got to remember a time when the internet was basically the Wild West. It was this chaotic, disorganized, and almost impossible place to find anything. And Yahoo's first brilliant idea? It was to become its guide. It all kicked off in 1994 as a simple, human-curated map to this brand new digital world. By the time it had its IPO in '96, it was already a Wall Street darling. And by the late '90s, Yahoo had completely transformed. It wasn't just a guide anymore. It was a portal, your one-stop shop for news, email, stocks, the whole shebang. So this portal strategy was the engine behind Yahoo's early dominance. The whole concept was stickiness. The goal was simple: keep you on Yahoo's websites for as long as humanly possible so they could show you as many banner ads as they could. I mean, it made them an absolute fortune, but it also planted the seeds of their own destruction by making them focus on keeping users instead of actually helping them find what they were looking for. And this brings us to a moment that could have completely rewritten internet history. It's a story all about a fundamental misunderstanding of the future, and it centers on a small, scrappy little startup called Google. This quote right here, it just nails the clash of worldviews. Yahoo wanted you to stay, to wander around its big walled garden. Google wanted you to find your answer and get out, as fast as possible. So to Yahoo's leadership, Google's incredible efficiency wasn't some kind of breakthrough. No, it was a direct threat to their entire business model. And this philosophical clash led to not one, but two catastrophic failures. First, back in '98, they passed on buying Google for a measly $1 million. But the really colossal mistake, the one that goes down in history, came in 2002. Yahoo's new CEO, Terry Semel, he knew search was the future, and he knew he needed Google. But the question was, could he actually close the deal? It all came down to this. Google's founders wanted $5 billion. Yahoo's board had actually approved it. But Semel, see, he was a former Hollywood exec, used to playing hardball in negotiations, so he offered only $3 billion. He thought he could haggle and get it on the cheap. He was dead wrong. Yahoo walked away from owning the future of the internet over a $2 billion gap, an error that's now considered one of the worst in corporate history. You know, this wasn't just a failed negotiation. It was a complete and total culture clash. You had Terry Semel, who came from Warner Bros. He saw Yahoo as a media company, where content and ad sales were king. But over at Google, the engineers were in charge. For them, the algorithm was king. This deep, fundamental difference, media versus technology, meant Yahoo was playing a completely different game. And what's really incredible is that the Google disaster wasn't a one-off thing. Oh no, it was just the first in a long, painful pattern of failing to see the future even when it was staring them right in the face. Let's talk about the Facebook fiasco. So in 2006, Yahoo has a deal on the table to buy the young social network for $1 billion. But then, after a weak earnings report, Terry Semel gets cold feet and tries to lowball them, lowering the price to $850 million. A totally insulted Mark Zuckerberg walked away, and just like that, Yahoo lost the next giant of the internet over a $150 million fumble. And the list, you guys, it just keeps on going. They bought the beloved photo-sharing site Flickr in 2005, but then just let it wither on the vine while Instagram came in and ate its lunch. They totally missed the boat on online video, basically handing the entire field over to YouTube, and then, in 2008, they rejected a massive $44.6 billion buyout from Microsoft, a price they would never, ever see again.
So you might be asking yourself, how did they stay afloat for so long while making all these catastrophic mistakes? Well, the answer, ironically, was one single brilliant decision: the Alibaba lifeboat. A $1 billion investment they made in a tiny Chinese e-commerce company back in 2005 just ballooned in value. For years, that one investment was worth more than Yahoo's entire core business combined. It was a financial triumph that tragically papered over all the cracks and let the company ignore its deep, systemic rot.
You see, all of these external failures, all these missed deals, they were really just symptoms of a much deeper disease. To understand the real root cause of the decline, we have to look inside the company, at an internal crisis that was famously diagnosed as the peanut butter problem.
This powerful metaphor comes from a blistering internal memo that was leaked to the press in 2006, written by a senior VP named Brad Garlinghouse. And his argument was simple and absolutely devastating. Yahoo was spreading its resources, its talent, its money, its focus so thinly across dozens and dozens of competing projects that it couldn't succeed at any one of them.
Garlinghouse's manifesto just laid it all bare. He pointed to a total lack of a cohesive vision. I mean, was Yahoo a tech company or a media company? Nobody really knew. And that led to this culture of unaccountability, where different projects overlapped and managers were fighting for resources. There was no clear ownership. And the result? A brain drain. The company's best and brightest talent just left in frustration.
Okay, so this internal decay, it really set the stage for the company's final, inevitable collapse, which was marked by a last-ditch turnaround attempt and a series of just devastating blows.
In 2012, a glimmer of hope arrived when Marissa Mayer, a star executive from Google, was hired as CEO. But her strategy of just buying up dozens of startups couldn't fix the broken core business. And then came the knockout punch. Just as Yahoo was trying to sell itself in 2016, it was forced to reveal two massive data breaches from back in 2013 and 2014.
And that 2013 breach, it was a catastrophe of historic proportions. It compromised every single Yahoo user account in existence. That's 3 billion accounts. It is still the largest data breach in the history of the internet, a final humiliating blow to once great brand.
In the end, this quote really says it all. This was Yahoo's fatal flaw. They were the search engine, and the news page, and the email provider, and the photo site, and the fantasy sports hub, but they failed to be the best at any of them. In trying to own everything, they ultimately owned nothing.
You know, the story of Yahoo is such a powerful reminder that in the world of technology, no giant is ever too big to fail. And it really forces us to look at the titans of today and ask ourselves, who among them is losing focus, spreading themselves too thin, and risking becoming the next great cautionary tale?